Midrand residents are counting the losses after a fire. Teaching jobs are on the line in South Africa, and Raposa says the continuation of apartheid must stop. Hi there, I'm Sifiso Zulu.
This is Eyewitness News.
Hundreds of people have been displaced in Midrand after a fire swept through a residential building. The blaze tore through the Broadwalk urban village last night while some residents were sleeping. Johannesburg emergency authorities say there are victims who have been taken to hospital.
You noticed a lot of screaming, a lot of running around, things like bombs going off. And then from there, I opened my window. When I opened my window, I saw like a huge flame, huge flame. And then I told my wife and child to not panic. I'm going to jump out of the window. And then my wife threw my son out, catch him, put him down, and then from there, caught my wife.
The Basic Education Department says it's facing a national funding crisis which will have a ripple effect on teaching jobs. Recently, provincial education departments complained about job cuts and budget cuts from Treasury, leading to the slashing of some teaching jobs. Minister Sifiso Zulu says South Africa is faced with a harsh reality.
These pressures are not just a recent occurrence, but they have been years in the making due to aggressive budget cuts, economic stagnation, fiscal management across government, mismanagement across government, which is now affecting our frontline services. These budget pressures are not just numbers on spreadsheets, but they translate to fewer teachers, reduced textbooks.
The remains of 49 freedom fighters who died in exile in southern African countries have been handed over to the South African government. Defence Minister Entjie Motshekga alongside Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie have received the former liberation heroes at Waterkloof Air Force Base in Pretoria. They died between 1967 and 1999.
For instance, because work in Angola has already started, and I'm told work in Angola is not work that will complete in a year. It's very complicated because people died during the battlefield. They will die during war and be buried there, unmarked graves. Some will die in groups, so they will be in group graves. Some will have died in combat alongside the Angolans, would have been buried with the Angolans. So there's a discussion that we're having with the Department of Angola that in some instances we will have memorials where we can't repatriate the remains, but in some instances where there were mass graves, we'll have a memorial center where we can have a mass a memorial for all the people that cannot be identified individually who come from mass graves.
This month is being declared as the month of heroes and heroines by the South African government, so that people should know exactly where we come from. Well, because we had a history of liberation struggle. And so those who are coming today are those comrades who died in Zambia and Zimbabwe, being members of the African National Congress and being members of the Pan-Africanist Congress and also being members of Azanla. And so I'm happy that they are coming back home, and so they will be reburied by their loved ones, because the loved ones wanted to know exactly when are the mortal remains of our beloved ones going to be brought back to South Africa.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says while the United Nations played an important role in ending apartheid in South Africa, the repressive system continues in Palestine. Ramaphosa was speaking during the 79th session of the UN General Assembly in New York. Israel has killed more than 40,000 Palestinians since October in its war with Hamas. That was after the armed group killed more than 1,000 people and took others hostage. Palestinians have been living under Israeli occupation for decades. Raposa says South Africa will not remain silent and watch as apartheid is perpetrated.
We must end the suffering that Palestinians are being subjected to. We are called upon to uphold the principles of the UN Charter and to uphold consistently and in their entirety the fundamental tenets of international law. International law cannot be applied selectively No one state is more equal than any other.
Meanwhile, world leaders have lined up at the United Nations to call on Israel to refrain from a full-scale war in Lebanon. The UN General Assembly comes after Lebanese authorities said Israeli strikes killed 558 people, 50 of them children. Longtime enemies, Hezbollah and Israel, have been locked in near daily exchange of cross-border fire since Palestinian militant group Hamas launched an unprecedented attack on Israel on October 7. The United Nations chief, Antonio Guterres, has warned against further escalation.
Meanwhile, Gaza is a non-stop nightmare that threatens to take the entire region with it. Look no further than Lebanon. We should all be alarmed by the escalation. Lebanon is at the brink. The people of Lebanon, the people of Israel, and the people of the world cannot afford Lebanon to become another Gaza.
And that's it from us today. Thank you for watching. For more, you can go to the Prime Media Plus app.
Eyewitness News, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or ewn.mobi.